and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on 88.1 WBFH The Biff out of Bloomfield Hills, as well as Birmingham Area Municipal Access in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and the village of Franklin. And yes, we've been talking about that since we moved into the studio with these rolling chairs. One of us is going to fall at some point in time, and today, Ronnie, you had your first experience with that. I had a near miss a few weeks back, but
you did, and it's like you said, but they like slip out from under.
They do, and it's kind of sudden too. Yeah, they are. They're very high up, and it's kind of sudden too. You think you got it, you get one leg up, you get onto the seat, and you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Let me lift up my other leg, but then you lift it up a little too quickly, and it just kind of pushes it out from under you. It's great. So,
in the beginning, I would try to stand, but as you know, I tripped over the dog, and
yes.
I thought it was a sprain. My doctor's office called me and said, no, it's a fracture.
Oh, even better.
So they were trying to get me to do an MRI, and then conversation after conversation, now we're like, we think it's better enough. But I do notice that when I leave here, if I'm sitting high up, then it gets very swollen, right? Mm-hmm. So I try to make sure that instead of standing on it all the time, which I like to do because it gives you kind of a little bit more energy and keeps you awake, I have to start sitting down. But that's the downfall. I'm telling you. But it's going to be great. So if when it does happen, I hope it's on video.
Hopefully it doesn't happen, and we don't have to get that on video for either of us or anybody that's in the studio, because it's not great. It's you don't want to end up on the news bloopers in any way.
I've ended up on the bloopers for reasons much worse. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then if this is a lighter version of that, then at least that's a win.
Right, we could do that. The big thing is just making sure no one gets hurt.
Exactly.
While they're doing it. Hey, Tyler, how was your day?
Yesterday was pretty good. It was just a regular day here, really. We had a meeting last night, Keiko Harbor's City Council meeting, and that was a short but productive meeting. So, pretty good day yesterday, and so far today's off to a good start. Other than, of course, the cloudiness outside, but other than that, off to a good start, Ronnie.
I will say, if I can, one of the things that I truly enjoy about this show, you don't realize, you appreciate the fact that Civic Center TV and all the public entities are out there, is that in my career as an investigative reporter, the great thing is to be able to go back and watch the videos and of the meetings. We know for so many people sitting through the meetings, a lot of people aren't doing them, especially when it comes to some of the side committee meetings, right? The environmental meetings, the planning commission meetings, and this, that, and the other. I'm looking into something right now, and I was like, oh, we have those meetings.
We do.
And so I was able to go back. So it's great.
Yeah, it's great. We provide those to everybody. There are public meetings, and the only select ones are broadcast. Each of the main meetings in three of the four communities, not in Orchard Lake. They have not asked us to broadcast their meetings, but Sylvan Lake, Keiko Harbor, and West Bloomfield, their township boards, city council meetings are all broadcast and on demand, as are their planning commissions in Keiko Harbor and West Bloomfield, and other auxiliary commissions as well in West Bloomfield Township, and as well as the school board. So all those public meetings are available, of course, through those municipalities. They have to keep their own records, but also their video and audio records are on demand, civiccentertv.com.
Which is great. So take advantage of them, because sometimes you may have questions about things that you missed the meeting or you didn't think about, but later it really is a great research and educational tool for everyone that is a citizen here within our area. Tyler, the other night I was lucky enough to go back to the comedy club.
Oh, okay.
We've had him on Ridley's
Yes,
comic
Mark Ridley's.
club in Royal Oak. It's been several months since we talked to them. They were so closed down at that point in time, but they did reopen, and they're doing it safely. The seats are spaced up. When you go in, you have to get tickets and your reservations prior because it's limited capacity. Then when you go in, they do a temperature check. And then, you're seated, but again, everyone's spaced out and this, that, and the other. But what a fun night.
Yeah, going to comedy clubs and seeing people perform, it's always something different because everybody has their different personalities, and some have similar delivery styles or do similar kinds of comedy. But stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, it's always something different with person to person. And we got a lot of great comedians in the Detroit area, and Mark Ridley and his team also bring in a lot of great comedians as well that provide a lot of entertainment value. And having these venues be reopened in some capacity safely for shows is great for not only the artists that are performing, but also for these clubs that have become, like Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, staples in our local area.
So we do know, though, a lot of people are still concerned because we're in the middle of the surge. But I will say, when you go in, you're so spaced out. You're only with your party, and only once you're seated do you take your mask down. And then then if you're getting up to come or leave or, go use the bathroom, you're there. And everyone is equally spaced out. But the great thing about that, it was they were really focusing on a lot of the local comedians as well, which is one of the first times in over a year that so many of them have been able to perform.
And hopefully that's where a lot of these clubs and a lot of these venues in Michigan and in Oakland County have that focus be as we come out of this pandemic slowly but surely, and as we continue through it as well, and they remain open to some capacity while doing so safely, is that they focus on these local artists, because the national artists, the people that have the fame, the notoriety, or at the very least the name recognition, they're going to get shows, they're going to be able to get those opportunities, but it's these up-and-coming comics and up-and-coming performers in our local area that are looking for these venues, looking for these outlets, trying to grow that audience so they can get to that point, that have really been struggling over this last year plus, as they haven't had these opportunities because these venues have been closed and they haven't been able to show what they've got.
And I will say, tickets were so cheap. They were like $10, which is really the cost of going to a movie right now as well. And I had a local friend that was performing, wanted to support her. And I will say, for anyone that is considering it, they do take so many safety precautions there. So feel safe, go in, support our local people. And with that, I don't know if you saw the governor. She's doing a lot of national media right now.
I think it's unavoidable at this point because Michigan's become such a hotbed for, really the hotbed for COVID-19 in the U.S. that everyone really has a lot of questions for her, not just locally, but at the national level also.
Well, the governor said that Michigan is making progress in its fight against a third COVID-19 surge. And she said, quote, "We're starting to see things look as though they're slowing down just a bit. I don't want to by any stretch say this isn't serious and that we don't all have to take this very seriously, but we are making progress." Now, the governor did make the comments during appearances on ABC News Live and MSNBC after a day of warnings from hospital leaders about the high numbers of patients with COVID-19 in the state. Michigan has been leading the nation in new coronavirus cases per population for 2 weeks, and infection numbers have been climbing for 7 weeks. However, after the number of adults hospitalized with COVID-19 reached a record high of 4,011 on Tuesday, that number is staggering. The tally dropped slightly the next 2 days to 3,960 Thursday. And we know that these statements were made on the same day as we were telling you yesterday. Beaumont Hospital, their doctors and their administration sounding the alarm to the public. This is very serious. We're seeing numbers that we haven't seen since the beginning of the surge. They're now setting up some triage tents to try to accommodate as many patients as they're getting.
Yeah, Beaumont made that announcement yesterday, just before we went on the air. They had sent out a media notice, and they did some media on that throughout the afternoon. And these hospitals throughout our state, these hospital systems are still very concerned. And maybe there's a little bit of optimism there, and the governor's certainly showing a minimal amount of optimism with where the state's numbers are going. But those numbers aren't changing very much. 4,011 people hospitalized with COVID as of Tuesday. That number only dropped to 3,960 as of yesterday. It's a decrease, but it's a very slight decrease. If you look at those full numbers, 4,000 down to 3,900 roughly is not a big jump. So maybe there's a little bit of a cause for optimism, but those numbers aren't necessarily showing that things are starting to trend the other way. It just looks like a minor dip to me. So I think we still need to be very serious about this. And on top of that there still is going to be there's still going to continue to be a lot of questions toward Governor Whitmer, toward Director Hertel, the Health and Human Services Department, Dr. Caldoun, as to why restrictions have not been put in place when this has persisted for several weeks.
And a lot of people aren't fans of the restrictions, and we understand that. And I think the damage that is done here goes beyond the health implications, but also it's a damage to the belief in our government system, because you were implementing so many restrictions in the beginning, but now you're saying, no, we're going to vaccinate our way out of this. But you have health officials in D.C. saying that's not possible. So I think one of the side elements of this discussion, it doesn't matter which side of the political party you lean towards, is really more about the trust in our government. It waters down the trust we have in our government. If you are going to make a switch within your messaging throughout a pandemic, her job is difficult. I wouldn't want it. It's a hard job. But if you're going to make such a big switch, please provide the science and the data behind it, because that's what we heard for the first year in this, is the science and the data. Otherwise, what's happening, I'm afraid of, is that you're going to have people disillusioned with our elected leaders and the government process here in the state of Michigan.
And you always have to think about the political influence that goes into making these decisions. We are going into an election cycle here. She is going up for re-election, Governor Whitmer, in 2022, and so you have to consider that may be a factor here. And while those restrictions were characteristic of her administration throughout most of this pandemic, and yes, it frustrated roughly 50% of the population of the state, at least that 50% knew that this is her policy, this is where her administration, this is how her administration is going about this, and this is why. Now it kind of is a situation where nobody, whether they are Democrats who support Governor Whitmer or Republicans who oppose Governor Whitmer and her administration, nobody seems to really know the true, or at least descriptive, justification for why this sudden change has been made, and that's where you're really losing your touch with the people of Michigan if you're the governor and the Department of Health and Human Services.
So we all would like to see our two sides of the aisle, the Republicans and the Democrats, come together throughout the pandemic, because this is not a time for politics. But you also have to kind of wonder, what's going on behind the scenes when your Republican leaders are now praising the governor.
And that's also something that I brought up. I would think earlier on in the pandemic, a lot of people would say, hey, if you're getting a nice job from Senator Mike Shirkey, you're probably not doing something right as far as addressing the pandemic, or at least from the perspective of Democrats who support Governor Whitmer. Now you got that praise, and it's okay, yeah, it's because we're not taking these restrictions and we're letting the people of Michigan decide their fate in this. But it still just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because these numbers are worse than they have been before, or at least comparable to where they've been at the worst parts of these pandemics, of the pandemic. Her administration has said several times before, when we have taken these restrictions and we have seen those spikes go down, that, hey, these restrictions have worked. Yep. So if it's a viable strategy, then it should be theoretically a viable strategy now. And there really isn't any any understandable reason why it wouldn't be. So it does continue to beg the question, why the sudden change? And we haven't gotten a definitive answer from the governor or the Department of Health and Human Services on that.
I'm just trying to think behind the scenes as someone who worked in the government, although it be the federal government system, the conversations that must be happening behind the scenes, because for more than a year, we heard the terminology due to the science and the data. And it was, conflicting information, because a lot of people were saying, well, provide us with it. Sure. That's one thing we have not heard the governor use, the term that saw her through the past year. We haven't really heard her use that terminology over the past month.
And I think the purpose of that has to be because if you're looking at certain metrics, percent positive cases, the rise in number of cases in the state of Michigan, hospitalizations, those numbers are all trending back in the direction of previous surges when they were utilized as justification for making those restrictions. And to go to that science and data, those important metrics that have been benchmarks for your administration in the past, and that's the data the science and the data you're going to turn to. And if you're doing that now and not doing anything, it begs the question, was that necessary then, or are you not taking the necessary steps now? And a lot of people seem to think it's the latter.
And you do wonder, too, if I'm a business owner that lost my business due to the restrictions, how are they feeling right now?
Yeah, especially if what the governor has said recently, that these restrictions haven't been effective because we have a compliance problem. Those businesses are going to wonder, well, then could we have been saved? Could we have not been in the financial situation that we're in, if that truly is the case? Or is this just a change of heart that you're trying to justify without providing really as much detail as possible to the people without giving all of your secrets away necessarily?
There are so many questions behind the scenes that are going on here, and we do know that this is a very serious virus, but I think what people are looking for in our elected leaders is some consistency as well to help us believe in the decision-making process that they are doing on the behalf of all of us. So, hey, I will say that more than 8 in 10 Michigan teachers are fully vaccinated now for COVID. More than 8 in 10 Michigan public school educators are fully vaccinated from COVID-19, almost triple the rate of the state's adults as a whole. And that's according to a survey released yesterday by the Michigan Education Association, which is the state's largest teachers union. So the high immunization rate amongst teachers and other school employees is likely a result of Michigan prioritizing teacher immunizations in January, soon after the vaccines became available, and is a welcome sign for the state's schools amid the third surge that we're experiencing right now. Many schools had struggled to stay open last fall because of the high number of teachers who were infected or quarantined. But keep in mind, teacher vaccinations haven't stopped schools from struggling to stay open during the recent spike. Some school districts, including several of those right here in our areas, have not decided to pause classroom learning because of the new infections for various reasons. But we did just learn today the Detroit public schools will be doing so. It's really putting these school districts in a tough spot right now.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Dr. Gerald Hill from the West Bloomfield School District, and earlier on in the week as well with Ken Gutman from Walled Lake Schools. Part of the balance of this has been state funding, a lot of that state relief funding, and in West Bloomfield's case yesterday, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, it would have been about $1.2 million in additional funding for the for West Bloomfield schools, is contingent on class activity being in person for at least 20 hours per week. And so a lot of these school districts had policies in place to do their part to keep their staff, their faculty, and their students safe, but also had policies in place that if things did go wrong or if they started to have outbreaks and they were moving toward a point where it may potentially be able to spiral out of control, that they could roll back to virtual means. And I think the balance that's been coming into play is how long do we stick with this in-person method before we pull back so that we can continue to qualify for that state funding. And it's a frankly unfair balance for these schools to have to make, because their primary goal is to educate our kids, and one of the hallmarks of that is making sure that these kids are safe. So schools pulling back out of need now, not just out of suggestion from the state, is what we're seeing as infections continue to be majorly happening in schools, and a lot of these kids can't be vaccinated just yet because the vaccines are generally for 16 and older.
So, hey, did you get the recent Pfizer vaccine?
I did. Actually, on Monday, I got my first shot of the Pfizer vaccine, and I'm scheduled for my second one in May.
So for anyone that, just to let you know, that you are probably going to need a booster shot, which we anticipated this was going to be happening. So people are likely to need a third dose of a COVID-19 vaccine within a year of getting fully vaccinated, and may need to get annual shots to protect against COVID-19. That's according to the CEO of Pfizer. So Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech are studying how long the vaccine's protective immunity is going to last. So their findings right now will guide whether additional booster shots are going to be necessary. The CEO recently said it's likely that a booster is going to be needed within 12 months of the initial 2-shot regimen. So Pfizer and BioNTech said this month that data from clinical trials suggests that their vaccine offers high levels of protection 6 months after the second dose with no serious safety concerns. And the vaccine was also found to be effective against several of the known at this time coronavirus variants, including the one that was first reported in the UK and another one that was thought to have emerged out of South Africa. But I think pretty much everyone is anticipating this. You're going to have to get this vaccine at least yearly.
Yeah, it's something we've been speculating for a long time, and a lot of outlets have been speculating for a long time, is whether or not these vaccines are going to be permanently effective, or going to be something that you need to get boosters every few years, or something that turns into a new version or an addition to the flu shot every single year. And so we're still very much in the infancy of these vaccines. They haven't been around for very long. Definitely not as long as other vaccines that take much longer generally to get to the market and get out into the population. Because of necessity, they were fast-tracked out into the public. And so we're going to continue to learn more about these, how effective they are over time, as these studies by Pfizer and BioNTech, by Moderna, by Johnson & Johnson, and others that may come out over the course of the next several months and several years, learn more about these vaccines, how they are effective against COVID-19, and what additional steps may need to be taken in order for them to continue to be effective against COVID.
So one thing with this, Tyler, is keep in mind that this is a study by Pfizer about its vaccine. So it's unknown at this time what's going to happen if maybe you got the Moderna or you got the Johnson & Johnson. Can you kind of mix and match? Now, right now, they're very adamant, stay with whichever one you got, especially if it's one dose versus the second dose. So I think that's going to take more government agencies to get involved to kind of study what happens if you kind of mix one or two, because we do know in the realities of life, some people are going to get what's available to them, but a lot of people too, like, I don't know, I got a vaccine, I don't remember what it was. So we'll see what happens, but we pretty much anticipated that. Think of it as like your yearly flu shot as well.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people have considered and been thinking about really from the beginning of this process as vaccines began to roll out, and even shortly before that. So I think that this news, it's not something that people are like, yay, a third shot may be needed, or booster shots every year may be needed, but they're also they're not frustrated maybe with it, because it's something we were prepared for and we accepted earlier on in the pandemic as we were going through the vaccine process.
So hey, sorry, I have a frog in my throat.
Right.
You know, it's that time. It's the allergies.
It is.
Ugh. My allergies are driving me crazy right now. Hey, Friday edition of the Megacast. And when we come back here in the 10 o'clock hour of the show, next we are going to be speaking with Kristen Nelson, who is the Oakland County Commissioner for District 5. And following her, someone I'm so excited to talk to is the founder of the 2021 Tour Da Yoop.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting concept, but really when you go and you dig behind his study, in his intention and why he even started this biking group. It really is fascinating. He has a great story, but we'll talk about more about that coming up here in the 10 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries, but you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside the one, the only Mr. Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, we are always here in the studio Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. But you, and where do you find us?
You can find us everywhere, really, Ronnie. You can find us Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in West Bloomfield, Kegel Harbor, Orchard Lake, and Sylvan Lake on Civic Center TV, and same channels in Birmingham on Birmingham Area Municipal Access in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Village of Franklin on 88.1 WBFH The Biff, as well as on our website, civiccentertv.com.
So many people consistently ask me that question. I'm like, no, really, today you can find us everywhere. That's what makes us the Megacast. And one of the reasons we do this show is more than a year into the pandemic, the information continues to change because this crisis, we are not out of the woods just yet. And so, you know, we're all adapting, and that includes our elected leaders. Let's bring in Kristen Nelson. She's the Oakland County Commissioner for District 5. Kristen, thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again. How is everyone?
We're good. It's been a few months, I think, since we talked to you. What's the latest news coming out of the County Commission?
Sure. Vaccine distribution continues to be Oakland County's #1 priority. Presently, we're running more than 12 different vaccination clinics all across Oakland County every week. And our goal is to reach 70% of vaccination rate by the 4th of July. I am happy to say that as of April 8th, so last week, we did get some numbers in, and it presently 46.9% of Oakland County residents have been vaccinated. So this is significant. With that, additionally, out of that, 73.2% of our seniors, 65 and up, have also been vaccinated. And with that, one of the things that we were really stressing and working towards is making sure that we're getting vaccines into our long care facilities. So I am really happy to say and report that 36 long care centers here in Oakland County have received both their first and second doses here in Oakland County.
So with that, Kristen, we do know that everyone, it seems, was taken for a surprise when the CDC and the FDA came out and released the information about the J&J vaccine put on a pause. And I know this really isn't your wheelhouse on the medical side, but just from a county standpoint, because the vaccine is being distributed through our county health department, what type of wrinkle does this put into the vaccination goals for the county?
That's a great question. Due to the federal pause of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the Health Division is reviewing and evaluating the clinics that were administering the Johnson & Johnson, and they're determining whether or not other vaccines can be provided instead of rescheduling. So at this point, I am happy to say that we are able to replace our Pfizer vaccine with the clinics that were utilizing the Johnson & Johnson. So at this moment, there really has not been a disruption in the distribution of the vaccines here in Oakland County.
But do you anticipate there's going to be one down the road? Because we do know one thing that made the Johnson & Johnson so much more attractive rather than over Moderna and the Pfizer. It's a one shot, one and done.
Sure. That's a really difficult question to really answer. What I do know is that consecutively now over the past few months, our allotment from the state has increased significantly each week. So I am happy to say that the number of vaccines that we are requesting, we're actually getting a plethora more than what we initially requested from the state. So that's something I want to be positive as we do move forward, but you do raise a really great question. Unfortunately, right now, that is something that is unknown. But what we do know presently is that it is not disrupting our ability to distribute these vaccines here in Oakland County, being the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine.
So with someone that is an elected official and we are talking about the vaccine is going to be the key to getting us back to where we need to be, our old normal. How worried are you that this latest news about the J&J is really going to kind of keep people that were really on the edge already from getting vaccinated? Are you concerned that it's going to dial back on the efforts?
I am. I think it comes back to just increasing the awareness and education of the purpose of getting vaccines, relying on science. I know that it's been difficult, especially over the past year. There's been a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot of inaccurate information. So I think it's really important, especially as a public official, to rely and speak upon what science says. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where it just comes down to, having conversations, increasing the importance of not just, getting vaccinated, but still wearing your mask, remaining, socially distanced, washing your hands. I think that, as we look at the increase here in Michigan, to be honest, the data really isn't there to help us determine why exactly our numbers are spiking. We can make those assumptions that, with, Easter vacation, traveling, we know has increased. We know that there is a potential that people are just becoming a little bit more laxed with social distancing and wearing masks. And, quite frankly, people are just COVID fatigued. But it's really important that we still keep in the forefronts of our minds and our everyday lives that it's still important that we still do charge forward with masking up and washing our hands and getting, remaining that socially distanced.
We're speaking with Kristen Nelson. She's the Oakland County Commissioner for District 5. We know you are a Democrat as well. The change in the messaging from the governor, how does that flow down to someone in your position on the local level? Because you are the one that is really out in the neighborhoods talking to the people here locally.
So again, I think it's just still sticking with the things that we know are effective in helping decrease the spread. And that comes back to, just having conversations on taking your own responsibility and doing what you can do to keep yourself safe and others around you safe. With the mixed messaging, it does make things difficult. But one of the things that I just continuously rely on is just encouraging people to take their own responsibilities in keeping themselves and others safe.
So with that, your thoughts on there's kind of a battle between the CDC and DC. Our health officials here, even in Oakland County, and the governor, one side you have them calling for more restrictions. On the other side, you're saying we're going to vaccine our way out. Your thoughts on that? I feel like people like you are caught in the middle.
You nailed it. It's a very tricky place to be because you understand, the perspectives of, different officials at multiple different levels of government, including you understand, residents and people and small business owners and restaurant owners. It's just a very difficult place to be because there isn't an answer that is going to fit everyone. So for me, it's just relying back on individual people taking their responsibilities. But I also am really happy to say that, very similar to the CARES Act money that we received last year, Oakland County did receive so last month, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act into law. And that was the $1.9 trillion package that was intended to help combat, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic. I bring this up because Oakland County is receiving $244 million from the American Rescue Plan Act. And this really is going to help us continue to do the efforts that we started in 2020 with helping to support the economic recovery for our small businesses and restaurants and individuals and people. And with that being said, I know just yesterday, Executive Coulter announced the creation of a task force.
It's the Economic Recovery Task Force.
I'm sorry?
The Economic Recovery Task Force.
Yes. So this one, the Economic Recovery Task Force was what we utilized last year with the CARES Act. This time, we've established the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force. And the really great thing with this is, given that we did have some extra time knowing that we were looking at as a county getting American Rescue dollars, we were able to create a task force it's made up of 31 different representatives from multiple different sectors. So you have education, you have local government, construction, labor, small businesses, and healthcare. And the good news is this task force actually will hold their first meeting on Monday, April 19th, to start taking a look at how we can leverage this money here in Oakland County. And again, very similar to the CARES Act money, this money can go towards public health and vaccines, housing stabilization, direct assistance to individuals and families, and economic recovery, obviously, for our small businesses. The one piece that is slightly different in the American Rescue Plan is that there actually is money put in place so we can invest in infrastructure, so like our sewer and our water and broadband. I think it's no surprise, one of the biggest things that, we discovered last year was that, while some communities were able to adapt to, social or the distanced options of working from home, whether it be for education or work or healthcare, others lacked the infrastructure needed to do so. So with the American Rescue Plan, I am happy to say that there is now money that we can use to help eliminate and decrease the infrastructure challenge of broadband here in the county.
We're talking with Kristen Nelson. She's the Oakland County Commissioner for District 5. Again, $245 million sounds great. But throughout the past year, we've talked to so many small businesses that have been unable to tap into this money because the need is so great. And when we announce these grants and we announce the initiatives, it sounds great from a politician and a headline, but the reality of them actually getting that money, but even if you get $20,000, $40,000, that is not enough to sustain you through these losses. So what would you say to the people within our district who are struggling and fighting to get some of this money? I'm sure you've heard the same thing, though, right? I mean, I'm not telling you anything.
I am happy to say. So, last year, given the money that we did receive, the $219 million, $78 million we did get out in grants to our small businesses across Oakland County. The one thing that we learned, right? So that was the very first time that we were rolling out something on such a large scale. And to be honest with you, it takes a team of people to help other individuals and small businesses fill out that paperwork. So one of the things that we are putting in place and learned from last time is that we recognize that we need to make sure that we have more people readily available to help our small businesses and organizations and people fill out these forms, because they are long. They do ask for very specific information. But I'm really confident that as we do move forward with this second year now of looking at dispersing monies out through grants, that we do have a better process that's put in place. And we do recognize that the more partnerships that we can create with outside organizations to help us get this money out is going to be essential. You know, one of the things that we often said last year was that getting the money was often, you know, it was a blessing, but it was also a curse, because it was so difficult to get the money out. But I am happy to say that as we move now into this second year with the second round of money from the American Rescue Plan, that we learned a lot from our first time at this, and a lot of it does come down to timeline. The other thing that we do have going for us with the American Rescue Plan dollars is that we actually have 3 years to spend the money. So we have actually until the end of 2024, as opposed to during the last year with the CARES Act dollars, we literally only had about a year. There was some extensions, but I really do believe that with the increased timeline of having 3 years to spend the money, it not only allows us to take a look at the immediate need, but it also allows us to prioritize for near future needs.
Kristen Nelson with us here on the Megacast. She's the Oakland County Commissioner for District 5. A question to you. Do you guys anticipate you're going to return to in-person meetings? Because I think I saw an article that April 1st was going to be at least the goal date.
Yes, and actually that's just as of last week, we received confirmation that with the increase in the cases of COVID here in Oakland County and across Michigan, we did end up extending the virtual meetings until May 31st. So we are evaluating it on a short-term basis, but we did decide that we were going to align with other local city, villages, and townships and extend that just to be safe and to take those precautions. I will say, though, we were prepared and ready to go back to in-person. We definitely have some different things put in place at the county. We've got plexiglass barriers, in addition to some other, obviously cleaning protocols and things like that. But, we were ready to go back, but due to obviously the increase in the numbers, and also too taking a look at, just the age and makeup of some of the majority makeup of our commission, we wanted to make sure that we, are remaining safe and are being vigilant. So as it stands, we did extend meeting virtually until May 31st.
Plus, we wouldn't get to enjoy your cat Zoom bombing you.
It has become a frequent cameos lately. I'm not quite sure what is going on, but hey, it is what it is.
What's he or she's name?
This is a Leroy.
Well, let me tell you, Leroy is very cute. Just like very casual, sitting around, and I'm all for pets in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Exactly. Kristen Nelson with us here on the Megacast. Anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye? Because I feel like we never have enough time because there are so many things going on.
Sure. One of the things I do want to highlight is in Oakland County's efforts and pursuit and commitment to environmental sustainability and justice, Oakland County posted yesterday our very first environmental sustainability officer. This is going to be a person that is going to help lead here in Oakland County to create a comprehensive climate action plan. So for anybody interested in applying for the Environmental Sustainability Officer, they can visit www.govhrjobs.com, and applications are going to be open for the Environmental Sustainability Officer until, I want to get the right date, May 20th.
So the clock is ticking. Get your application in.
Clock is ticking.
Kristen Nelson, we always appreciate your time. Oakland County Commissioner for District 5.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
You too, and happy Friday to you and Leroy.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we're going to be talking about biking in the UP. This is the Megacast.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, we are the Megacast, which means you can reach us just pretty much in so many different places, including Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. If you have cable, you'll find us on Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today we are also live streaming today's show on our Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM Facebook page. Tyler, so many people over the past year have been getting out, dusting off the good old bicycle.
Yes.
We have a couple of them in our house, and nothing like a bike ride because we have the West Bloomfield Trail behind us.
Yeah, it's a great place to go for a bike ride. It's a really long trail. It connects to other trails as well. So if you like a longer bike ride, you can go. You can, of course, do that, and it's plenty of scenery along the way to stop and check out, or just have a nice scenic view on your way. And there's a lot of other places throughout the state of Michigan that also have great terrain and great scenery for a bike ride.
Well, I'm down with a good bike ride.
Of course.
Right? Before the pandemic, I was part of a group in Detroit. You would do a 20-mile bike ride. Halfway through, you stopped at the local neighborhood bar.
Of course.
That's my kind of bike ride, right?
That sounds fun.
Get to meet new people, but what about 1,200 miles?
That's a lot. It's a lot more than 20. It's a few more.
That's insane, but it is happening. James Studinger joins us here on the Megacast. He is the founder for the Tour Da Yoop. Thank you so much, James, for being with us. You're insane.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I was online looking at the videos and looking at your story, and I'm just saying, like, you're just passionate about cycling.
Yeah, it's grown on me. We'll put it that way.
I love your story, though. Give us a little backdrop. How did you even come up with this?
So there's 2 things that really drove it. One, that 20-mile bike ride you mentioned, it may be, I don't know if that's part of We Bike Detroit.
Yes.
Or if that's a different group.
I love them. Yes, We Bike Detroit.
Okay, well, interesting. So Pat Irwin really leads that charge. His brother Aaron Irwin was talking with me years ago, asked me if I would guide him on a bike ride around the Upper Peninsula. And I kept telling Aaron, I've known Aaron for a long time, and like, Aaron, that's a really long ways, man. That's a lot more than what you're asking for. And he kept pressing and kept pressing. And so finally I put together a bike route just kind of on paper, just to show him it's, hey, this is going to be over 1,000 miles. And it's not like a 3 or 4 day event. It's going to take well over a week. And when I actually gave him the numbers, hey, it's over 1,000 miles, it's going to take, at least 10 days. He's like, yeah, you're right. That's more than I was thinking. And he backed away. Well, after I actually put it on paper, I thought, this is an unbelievable route. I got to do this now, Then I got really excited about it. And that's the positive thing. On the sad note, what was also happening at the same time is I do triathlons. I got a lot of friends who were biking all the time. I was getting some of my friends were getting hit by cars. Some people that I trained with had horrible accidents. One lady was paralyzed. I know none of my friends, but friends of friends had actually lost people. They have actually passed away from vehicle crashes. So biking down here was getting really dangerous.
Yeah.
And as a triathlete, we're just looking for safe places to bike all the time. So those two things came together, and I thought, why not go do this? Why not go do this incredible trip around the Upper Peninsula? And one, just put it on the map. And number two, showcase that, hey, Michigan has some of the most unbelievable, safe, quiet, pristine road biking that you just never knew existed. And by doing a huge ride like that, a 1,200-mile ride, I figure it would gain some attention, and it definitely did.
So since you started it, how many people have connected and actually completed? That's the other thing, completed this journey.
Yeah, that's a good question. We had, I think, 11 or 12 people complete all 10 sections last year consecutively, which is a pretty big number because we didn't have a big ride last year. We kept it small for obvious reasons. But a lot of the people that came to ride it did the whole thing. And the oldest gentleman was 79 years old. We had two ladies complete all 10 in a row last year for the first time. We did have another lady had completed over a 2-year time span. So all told, I don't know for sure, but we probably have somewhere around 30 or so people that have completed all 10 sections now over the last few years.
So with that, because for people, maybe we're just not as eager as people such as yourself. Can you do it in stages, like not over 10 days?
Yes, you can. I mean, you can do it over 10 years if you'd like to. So we set it up a couple ways. One is number one, people are capable of doing more than they think they can do. I would tell you that for sure. When you get out there and you do a little bit of training to make sure that you're going to enjoy it physically, that you're not, it's not the first time on your bike for the year, but you do some training, you get out there and have a nice, beautiful ride, you can do more than you think you can do. So I'll just throw that out there. But there's also, you could do the whole 1,200 miles. We had 2 people do it last year and it took them 3 months. And they were like camping riding. And they would go for maybe 20 or 30 miles, and then they'd stay at a hotel or they'd put up their tent, and then the next day they'd do 40 or 50 miles. And this red jersey I have on, the red plaid jersey, this is awarded to people that do all 10 days, no matter how many years it takes, but all 10 days doing each section, 1 day at a time. The journey, which is what these 2 people did last year, they get a green plaid jersey, and that signifies that you've done the entire 1,200. Actually, these people did like 1,400 miles by the time they were done, but that you've completed the entire perimeter route around the Upper Peninsula. So we've got a lot of different ways for people to engage in this, including just identifying loops like the town of Lance. I spent hours with the town of Lance putting together some beautiful bike routes around their community, linking them to Houghton, linking them to Big Bay, linking them to different communities. So we've got literally thousands of miles of big routes, little routes, all kinds of, whatever kind of biker you are, we've got thousands of miles of routes for people to go explore and have a nice, safe time on their bike.
So James Studinger with us here on the Megacast. So with that, when you're looking at it, how does it work in like actuality. Like if I'm a biker, if I go with my husband, there has to be a car that follows, right? And then you get to the next stage.
Yeah, so I'll speak about the big event, the Tour Da Yoop, which takes place in August. So that's the big main event where we pull people together.
That's for you crazy people that want to do it in 10 days.
Yeah. I was the first year, and to be honest, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Had I known, maybe I would have thought I couldn't do it. So when in August, when we get started, we all ride together every day. So it starts off in the morning. I'll give everybody an idea for what they're going to see that day and what's in store, what they should expect. And then we all ride out, and different groups form based on, some people want to race it, some people want to have a casual ride, some people want a little bit of a challenge. So there's all kinds of different speeds that take place. And throughout the day, we have water spots and in food stations where if somebody has specific food in a bag, we'll have that there for them to replenish what's on their jersey or on their bike, and we'll have water for them. And then we have vehicles buzzing around, checking in on people, following the last rider. And we're also taking everybody's luggage from one town and bringing it to the next town. Oh. So if somebody's just doing a day or two, they still need their luggage. Yeah. When they go from St. Louis to Manistee. And so we're transporting all that luggage for everybody. And for the people that are doing many days, 4 or 5 or 6 days, or the whole 10, we're bringing that luggage all the way back to where they need it for when they finish.
So with this, are you surprised at the popularity that has come with this event?
In a way, when I did it the first year, I just threw a thing out on Facebook. I said, hey, I'm going to ride around the UP. Does anybody want to join me? So I didn't know these other bikers, and they're great friends. Today, everybody I've met has been so genuine. Well, as I was riding it, I was the only one doing all 10, and others were, had helped out for a few days or here and there. And they were all asking me, you're going to do this again, right? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I was just kind of getting it done this year, but they were so adamant, like, no, this has got to be an annual event. You've got to do it.
So when you started, you never thought it was going to turn into what it did.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. The following year, we had professional riders come all the way from Germany. Yeah, they had seen it online. I mean, it is such an unbelievable biking adventure that it's gotten attention around the world. We had a lady come from Hawaii last year. She wanted to be the first lady, Carrie. She wanted to be the first lady to do all 10 in a row. And she couldn't make it during August. She had to go back to Hawaii, so she did it a little earlier in July, and I went up there and rode with her for some of the days. So the attention is definitely around the world. I mean, a lot of people are hearing about it. And it's because it's so unique. It's such a long distance if you do the whole thing. It's basically like going from here to Disney World in Florida, but you loop right back to where you started. And the UP is only 50 miles wide at most of the spots. So logistically, you can route people around. You can get people to do 2 or 3 days. You can get them back to your car. I mean, you can't do that on a 1,200-mile ride usually, but the UP is just perfectly situated geographically that you can do something that's phenomenal and get it done safely and have everybody have a great time and get back to their car.
So with some of us, we're looking at this and we're watching the videos, and I will say I think you're a little crazy. But what has been what do some of the riders get out of this, especially the first-timers?
So I think everybody is taken by the beauty of the Upper Peninsula. And we know the Upper Peninsula for all its waterfalls and its forest and the lakes. And, by the time you're riding around, you've jumped in Lake Michigan, you've jumped in Lake Superior, you've jumped in Lake Huron, you've rode along the St. Mary's River. So you've gone through every community. You literally have ridden your bike through every town in the Upper Peninsula, basically. You've gone through 80-90% of the population of the Upper Peninsula. So you've seen more of the UP by riding this route than most people, even people that live in the UP. I grew up in Manistee, but when I put this route together, I didn't know every road in the UP. I know all the roads now, but at the time I didn't. So I saw areas of the Upper Peninsula that I had never seen before. So that's the thing, the obvious thing that we all get out of it. The not so obvious thing that is a continuous surprise and a real joy are all the people that we meet. The interactions we have with the people that live in the Upper Peninsula and the people that are biking this those are the things that blow your mind. And I have made more wonderful, I hope, lifelong friends with people that I've met biking with them or met in the Upper Peninsula that I talk to all the time now, as if I've known them for 20 years. So it's that human interaction which blows everybody away. Everybody comments on somebody they met that really just blew them away.
I love that because it really is a close-knit group, the biking community. So I've been lucky enough to go to the Tour de France in France, in the south of France. And, my husband's dream is to win the lotto so he can follow it for the full 3 weeks, not actually bike it. But there's a lot of logistics that go into at the starting point and then getting to the next city before the bikers and this, that, and the other. But it really is amazing, the biking community. But I feel like in the European countries, it is so much more popular than what we have here in the United States, because it is not unusual in the south of France to see groups of cycling clubs biking the back roads. The nature is beautiful. Do you think that this is going to start to catch on? That this is going to get bigger as the years go on?
The event itself will, for sure. There's no doubt about that. Just the interest that we get around the whole country and around the world. But biking in general absolutely is going to continue to get more popular. And with that, we need to continue to learn how to keep it safe for people. So a lot of the stuff that I do throughout the year now, Kim Mellon, she organizes, she does the logistics. I wouldn't be able to. A lot of the work I do is dealing with the routes and the road commissions and the communities and MDOT and the DNR, in constant communication with people throughout Michigan about how do we keep biking safe for people. What else can we do that's simple that can help save lives or save accidents and keep people safe and having a good time. So, but biking popularity is definitely growing. That's not going to change. So I think that we'll see more bikers in the Lower Peninsula, but in the Upper Peninsula as well. I think that we're just going to continue to see bikers. Every time you take a trip up there, I'm sure you'll see more and more people on their bike as well.
James Studinger with us here on the Megacast. He is the founder for Tour Da Yoop in the Upper Peninsula. Are you a little bit concerned that it's going to become so popular that everyone is going to want to go to the UP now?
The UP has been getting a tremendous amount of traffic, like Pictured Rocks, for example. But Pictured Rocks, the town of Munising itself, some people will tell you they love it, that they have all of this attention. And some people in the town would say that it's a little bit too much. The unique thing about biking is any town that wants to embrace biking can embrace it. It's not, the Pictured Rocks are where they are. You can't move them. That's going to benefit Munising, and that's about it. But any town, there's a lot of towns in the Upper Peninsula that would like to have more tourism that don't have that natural attraction to bring them in. And so biking is a way to level the playing field, make it equal for every community in the Upper Peninsula. If they want to embrace biking like Lance, the people in Lance have done a tremendous job. Or the Sioux. The Sioux is a slogan called Bike Friendly Sioux. So any community that really wants to embrace it, this is their opportunity to get involved with a quiet sport and attract people to their area.
So, James, how can people find out more information if they want to, join your crazy 10-day adventure, which is going to be happening in August, or if they just want to try to do the 10-year challenge, which might be more my speed? How can they find out more?
TourDaYoop.com. And Tour Da Yoop, I came up with that name, and basically it's invitation. Come bike around the UP with me, okay? But tourdayoup.com is the main event website. Call of the Yooper is a little website that I've managed for quite a long time, and I get people emailing me on Call of the Yooper weekly throughout the country asking, where should I go to bike in the UP? What should I look for? What should I do? So I always welcome people to visit that page as well and learn more about what the UP has to offer.
So I will say, when I saw this morning, I was like, this is my husband's opportunity to not get a yellow jersey, which obviously, Tour de France. So he is a sports reporter who covers the Tour every single year. So when we would go to the south of France, we would try to visit it if our schedules aligned, for him to be able to see at least one or two legs. But biking is an event, and it's all about the yellow jersey. And so we got one when we were over there. I think he needs a plaid jersey. Like, that's something you can actually get.
Yes.
Well, we're going to try to hook him up, but it might take 10 years, though.
All right.
James,
we hope to meet him someday, and if you guys want to come join us for a day, we'd love to see you down there, or maybe we'll catch you on a ride in Detroit one day.
Definitely. I always like the 10-mile mark bar stop.
That's nice. Yeah.
James Studinger with us here on the Megacast. He is the founder for the 2021 Tour Da Yoop. Please check them out. So it really is a great event for so many of us to do right now, because being out on a bike and enjoying the nature, but also the beauty of Michigan, because we sometimes forget about the UP. It really is like another country.
It is. It's a place that's truly unique here in Michigan, because it's got the people there, of course, like we do here in the Lower Peninsula, but it's not on as large of a scale. It's still got such great natural land and great landscapes and great views. And this particular tour allows you to see the beauty of the Upper Peninsula of our state, while also enjoying some social interaction with other people if you're doing the tour on the lighter side, or at the very least enjoying yourself and also getting some good activity outdoors.
I will say, when you explore, because so the We Bike Detroit group, you can go on Facebook, they do kind of limit their group size, just for, you have to manage the size when you're going through the streets of Detroit. A lot of work goes into that. But also, I took part in a homeless retreat, and so you're walking the streets of Detroit, and you see an area in a city completely different when you're doing it, either walking or riding on a bike. And so we invite everyone, take advantage of what is here in our backyard, especially as we are all a little bit COVID fatigued right now. Thank you to James again for joining us. We're going to take a quick break here on the show. Still a lot to get to in the second hour. When we come back, we are going to be joined by State Senator Jim Runestad. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
In times like these, we have to believe in each other.
And we believe that you'll do the right thing.
When it comes to stopping the spread of COVID.
Follow the 3 W's.
Wear a mask.
Wash your hands. Watch your distance.
And when it's your turn to get the vaccine, take your shot.
It all comes down to the golden rule.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
We're so close, Michigan.
We can do this together.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you back with us here on the Megacast. You can always catch us, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Check us out. Channel 15 if you have cable, on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today we are also live streaming today's edition of the Megacast on our Facebook page as well. So many things as we're continuing into this third surge really here in the state of Michigan, if you want to call it that. Tough times for so many people. And our elected leaders have been continuing to try to struggle with how do we get this surge under control, this virus under control, and get us back to life that we once all knew and really want to get back to at this point in time. State Senator Jim Runestad joins us here on the Megacast. He represents the 15th District for us. Senator, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me again. I always enjoy being on.
When you hear the latest numbers and the latest surge and the plea from the CDC to shut down things here in the state of Michigan, but also our hospital administrators, what are your thoughts on that? Because we do know as Republicans, one of the things that Republicans have been pushing for is for us as a state to remain open.
That's correct. We have we had the longest and most strict shutdown in the nation, almost from the inception of this pen virus. And right now, we're the highest number of infections in the nation. And the real important thing is to try to get vaccinations out to people as rapidly as possible. Unfortunately, news reports I've read recently is we're number 34th in the nation for getting the vaccinations out. We get the 10th most number of vaccinations, but we're 34th in vaccinated. So we have some work to do on distribution. The Biden administration said, you have enough vaccinations. You're not using them all. We're not going to give you more when you haven't used them all. So there's, again, a problem with making sure that we are getting the vaccinations out there, and that will really drive the numbers down. Currently, right now, the administration uses a social index rather than a science index. So that's been a problem in terms of getting this vaccination to those who really are the most likely to die from the virus.
So, Senator, I'm just a regular person. I'm just Joe Schmo in the community. And it appears to some of us, and I worry about just regular people, regular citizens here in the state of Michigan, not trusting our government, because not only do we have the news coming out about the J&J, when we have so many people pushing, get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine, it's safe, and then you have J&J say, wait, we're going to pause. But then on top of that, you have a governor who has been pushing for restrictions throughout this pandemic, who is now saying it's your personal responsibility, which, other states have kind of been saying all along. But there's such mixed messaging in all of this. Are you concerned that it's watering down the the trust in our government and our elected leaders to be able to see us through this and so many other things as well?
I would absolutely say that's the case here in Michigan. Like I said, we've had the most severe shutdown in the nation, the longest, most severe shutdown in the nation. And the governor would come out every 2 weeks and make a modification, a little bit of a change, which, the people say, well, we've had this severe shutdown. By golly, we should have the lowest numbers in the nation. No, we have by far the highest numbers in the nation. And she says, well, there's not compliance. It's an issue of compliance. I've talked to so many people that flew back from Florida, from Texas, from all these states that are completely wide open. There's no mask mandate. There's nothing. Their numbers are vastly lower than ours. And here in Oakland County, everywhere I go, in every building, people are all masked up. They're social distancing. So where this comes from, it's the people of Michigan just don't comply when other states are wide open. She says that's the reason for this explosion in Michigan. It just doesn't add up. Anyone that walks around in Michigan, certainly where I am, all over where I'm at in Oakland County, people are masking up, they're social distancing, and other states are doing whatever they want, completely wide open. So that doesn't square. I think what is part of it is that this massive lockdown tamped down the numbers over time, and now we're getting a bulge that just naturally can occur if you've been locked down as long as we have been locked down. Coupled with, like I said, we're 34th in the nation for vaccinations. We should be number 1. We're 34th for getting these out.
Right, and it's just so hard now with Johnson & Johnson. Everyone has their own beliefs around that. I will say a little bit of a silver lining. We are seeing the number of outbreaks within our long care facilities and our nursing homes start to decline because so many of our elderly population, they are starting to get vaccinated. So some say it is working. But I wonder what is on the backside of this. I know that you've been an advocate for our senior citizens. And also one of the big things, cameras in our nursing facilities. Where do things on that side of this topic land right now?
Well, as you recall from our last conversation, I did have a bill that I got all the way through the House, the Senate, and it would require all nursing homes to permit family members to put a camera in the room. Most nursing homes, through contracts in the agreement when you sign in, prohibit cameras. Yeah. So the only way that these families can actually keep an eye on things is put a hidden camera in legal camera, which you run into all kinds of problems with eavesdropping laws. Now you've hidden a camera that could monitor a person who's incapacitated, perhaps does not have any concept of anything going on around them. So how could you say you're a party to the conversation, which is required in Michigan, if the person there is incapacitated, but you're remotely listening to people coming and going? So you run into all these kinds of problems. With a hidden camera, what my bill would have allowed you to do is legally be required that you can put a camera in the room and record, at least by video, everything that is occurring. And the governor pocket vetoed that. I mean, she just didn't write veto. It's too unpopular. She just let it expire, which is called a pocket veto. I also I'm working on getting that through again. We're going to try again to see if there's a way to get that through this administration. We're working, at least with her representatives, hoping to get some agreement. She didn't spell out what her problems were, but we're hoping to get something that will protect these seniors. The other thing I was working on last Saturday, we had a Save Our Seniors rally, trying to get loved ones into all senior facilities across the state of Michigan. Right now, there's a lot of nursing homes that do not let family members come in, even if they've been vaccinated. It doesn't matter. They let vendors come and go, but they don't let the family members come in. Now, I've talked to so many family members and residents of nursing homes that their family members or their friends in nursing home have died from isolation, from depression, looking at their family member through a window. Oftentimes when they're incapacitated or they're mentally failing, they don't understand why are these people out of my window? Why can't I hug my family members? So I want to get a bill through that's going to require, if you've been vaccinated or if it's considered safe for you to be there, that you get in to be able to see that loved one of yours.
Yeah, we do know that so many of our seniors have suffered the most throughout this pandemic, and it seems like at least there should be some bipartisan agreement on this issue, because this is not about politics. It really is about saving our loved ones.
It is, and it just boggles my mind, some of the things that become partisan in politics. I just, getting family members in to be with their loved ones that literally will save their lives is nonpartisan. Putting a camera in to monitor their care, particularly with this pandemic, is nonpartisan. These shouldn't be partisan questions. And yet it seems like that's what it devolves down to, unfortunately, so often.
And, as someone who was I've done more than my fair share of investigations in some of these nursing homes and long care facilities. They do reports through the state of Michigan. Eye-opening experiences to go online. These are open records, and they do post them online, and you start to look at them. And it really is scary about some of the situations. And we know that a lot of these are actually corporations running these facilities, but on the backside, even more so now than ever, it is so hard for them to get enough employees and qualified employees as well.
It is. It's difficult in the nursing homes. I felt from the beginning of this when the early reports that were unanimous said that the most vulnerable were the elderly with underlying health conditions. That describes virtually every person in a nursing home. So I thought that that should be number one in terms of everything that we do, and it was not. Michigan was one of 5 states that allowed COVID-infected patients to be transferred into nursing homes with non-COVID infected patients. They did not have the ventilation systems to separate these rooms that were set up. Rooms are often just, most of the time, were just separated by a curtain. And obviously that doesn't do anything. And in Florida, they said we would never, ever put a COVID-infected patient in with the rest of the population. As you can imagine, it's going to spread the virus. So it's been, I feel, mishandled from the get-go here in the state of Michigan. And I'm going to do everything I can do to make sure that we at least change going forward what's going on so we can protect these seniors.
State Senator Jim Runestad with us here on the Megacast. He represents the 15th District. And with that, Senator, if I can ask you, there are so many other things going on outside of the pandemic that you and other elected leaders are trying to juggle in Lansing. What other things or topics are you working on right now?
One that we're going to deal with on Tuesday in the Education Committee is I have heard from so many parents that had an experience with their senior last year where they couldn't go through a regular graduation. And I am one of those. My daughter, we drove up in a car. She got out, got her diploma, took a picture, and got back in the car. At that time, we didn't know a lot of what's going on. Right now, we have a much better understanding of this virus. In Michigan, we have this peak, but they're vaccinating about 500,000 every 2 weeks. They vaccinated over 5 million so far. Over about 800,000 people have already had the virus in Michigan. So you're going to hit within another month and a half, about 70 to 80% of the population. That's where you get to herd immunity. We're also getting into the warmer weather. These can graduation ceremonies can all be outdoors. Currently, the rule is you can have 25 people indoors, 300 outdoors. Now, if we get into June, when most of these graduation ceremonies occur, and we're down to very low numbers, as I believe we will be, why can't a school make their own decision on what's safe for a graduation? Why does the state lock down every school, regardless of where they're at, regardless of how low the numbers are? So we're having this hearing on Tuesday, and it's a bill I have that allows the school to make the decision. When we get to that point, the schools are going to make safe decisions. We don't need a governor, one person deciding for every school, every graduate, even if the numbers are a fraction of what they are now, that everyone gets locked down. So this is a hearing that we'll have. I'm fairly certain I will have support in the committee and actually through the legislature to get this through. I just hope, again, that we don't get a veto at the end of this.
And we should mention that the governor has recently recommended that schools take a pause due to the rise in the numbers that we know are with the younger generation right now. So how would this play into that? Because it is just a recommendation, and you're talking to superintendents who are saying, this is confusing. We're not health experts. So, trying to leave it up to us can be a little bit challenging. What about trying to leave it up to your local health departments?
I think it makes a whole lot more sense to leave this up to local health departments. What's occurring in the state of Michigan is the state health department unilaterally makes all the decisions for everybody across the board. And I felt this, for the most part, been bad policy all along, that the local health departments in their own counties have a much better sense of what is going on. Also, I think the local school boards have a much better sense of what's going on. I am glad that she didn't mandate a shutdown of everything because, again, the whole state has different experiences depending on what county you're looking at. So I think right now, things are going to continue. I think that we're going to have, and everything I'm getting reported to me is that we're going to have a drop in these numbers over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to really start coming down. So this should be a local decision. And then the graduation bill, though, has to be done now because it's going to take a lot of time to put the logistics in place to get those done.
Yeah, I know my niece is going to be graduating from the University of Michigan, and they're doing virtual. And the kind of thought there is, we have the big house. You're allowing 8,000 people in at a Tigers game. Why can't you allow some people in at a virtual graduation? But so many things. But like you're saying, maybe this should be left up to some of the universities and this, that, and the other, because everyone has different things available to with them. Senator Jim Runestad with us here on the Megacast. He represents the 15th district. We're running a little bit behind, but anything maybe we didn't touch on today that you want to add? Because I do have a long list. We just can't get to them all. So anything else that you want to say?
We have the budget hearings coming up next week. I want to get some more money for law enforcement training. There's all this federal money, and the one thing that our law enforcement agencies have been just begging for is more training dollars. So I'm hoping to get that as soon as possible. Also, Michigan is the worst state in the nation for dyslexic students. About 20% of students have dyslexia. We do absolutely nothing for them. We're the only state that does absolutely nothing for a dyslexic student. So I'm working on a bill package to rectify not only how we deal with dyslexic students, but also get funding for them.
Well, that's great to know, because we do know that you have an education background. One thing, we've been talking with the superintendents here locally, and they're asking for all of you in Lansing to get together so that they can do their budget, because their budgets are due by the end of June. Your budget's not due until October, but there is still money tied up that the two sides there in Lansing can't seem to come to grips with so that they can try to make their budgets.
Yeah, it's critical for the schools. You can't wait till October. Then they're just doing haphazard budgets that may be completely wrong and blow up down the road. So under the Snyder administration, always early in June, we got the numbers to the schools so that they could put their numbers together. I'm hoping that can be done again.
And so are they. State Senator Jim Runestad, we so appreciate your time. Our apologies to our next guest. When we come back, we are going to be joined by the Executive Director for the American Lung Association here in the state of Michigan. This is the Megacast.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe, and this, of course, is the Megacast. So our apologies to our next guest. We were running a little bit behind with the state senator, but sometimes with our elected leaders, when we're able to get them, we try to give them a little bit of grace with some additional time because they have so many various topics that they're dealing with, and they impact each and every one of us. It's our tax dollars, by the way. But we're excited to bring in our next guest, Maureen Robus. She's the executive director for the American Lung Association in Michigan. You've been around for more than 115 years, the organization, not you. And I think for so many of us, we are familiar with the American Lung Association, but a lot of people don't know the specifics of your mission.
So true. I think some recognize the name, but might not know really what we do. And truly, in a nutshell, our goal is to save lives by preventing lung disease and helping those that are impacted by lung disease. And we do that in a number of ways. But, when we think about lung disease, it's from having programs to support tobacco cessation, to funding life-saving research, to making sure those that are impacted with lung disease have information and can help make critical treatment decisions.
How do you navigate your mission during the middle of the pandemic? We do know that COVID does have an impact on our lungs.
Yeah, so when, a year ago, a little over a year ago now, we were all truly impacted by that. And we quickly were able to, incorporate already our foundation of what we've done well with research, advocacy, and education, and really use those strong pillars. We were, as an organization, we came about to eradicate tuberculosis. And so that really has been the framework of our work, as we know, even with the 1918 flu pandemic. So this isn't the first time we've had to assist. So we were able to quickly shift, and I'm thankful for now and where we are is technology, right? So much of our work was able to go virtual. So obviously incorporating COVID-19 through first being a trusted source of information to the community. So really understanding what was COVID-19 for those that were more at risk, they could turn to us for more information, whether it's on our website, talking to a health professional, tuning into one of our podcasts, or reading through blog posts. There's a lot of great information that people knew that they could trust that information. And so that work has continued to evolve now through funding additional COVID-19 research, as well as our role with educating the community with trusted information so they can make the best decision for themselves when it comes to a vaccine.
So do you have to kind of shift your mission and your goals when we do have a pandemic that does impact your core mission, away from some of the other things that really you've been so much on the front lines about, especially when it came to tobacco?
Yeah, what might have changed but look different, and because of technology, we had some great resources. So our signature tobacco program is Freedom from Smoking, and so typically that is an in-person support group that runs throughout the year. And so we modified that to either become self-paced or online. So even our health partners that we work with to execute those programs, such as Henry Ford Health System, pivoted and took that program online to remain a resource. As we know, those who were smokers or are smokers are at a higher risk when they are diagnosed with COVID-19. So we wanted to make sure all those resources are. So our Freedom from Smoking program, we made sure was a top priority in the community so people could get that information. And just like many of our other programs, one of our other signatures are our Better Breathers Clubs, which are in-person support groups. So right now we know they cannot be gathering together in person. And so we were able to create this national network and bring individuals together that way. So sort of even through our education and training, going virtual expanded our outreach. It brought more resources to more people quicker because there was this designed program that was thought out and accessible for more people. So in some ways, we grew in our education outreach in the community.
Maureen Robus with us here on the Megacast. She's the executive director for the American Lung Association here in the state of Michigan. And do you think in one ways with COVID-19, some people are looking at their lifestyles and saying, I have to change something? Especially smokers. I have several family members that were longtime smokers, but oftentimes it was some type of health issue that was the catalyst from them smoking or stop smoking.
Yeah, I think, COVID-19, I think, put us on a spot where perhaps there was worry or stress or just that moment where we had an opportunity to reflect. And, some individuals might have an interest. We did see and have continued to see an increase in our lung helpline, which does have a component for our tobacco cessation programs. We saw an increase across the board with individuals reaching out for information. And so we're glad that they come to us and we can connect them with resources that are available that are a good fit for them. And just to be able to support them is something I've always appreciated about the Lung Association, is that we're here to provide you that information. And when you're ready, we're here to help you do that. And we'll continue to make sure you're aware of these resources. And with our work with other partnered organizations through the Tobacco Coalition in the state of Michigan, we're able to bring even more awareness to the community. And then even through our campaigns with the Ad Council and things of that nature, we're able to really raise that awareness. So we hope that with just that conversation around lung health in general, I think, it's truly, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters. And we know that as an organization. And so it's really, how can we support anybody with any lung health questions? We want them to reach out to us and connect them with one of our health professionals to help them answer any questions they might have, or what conversations and questions to bring back to their family doctor.
So Maureen, if I can ask you, I remember prior to the pandemic, and then in the very beginning stages, there was a lot of focus here in the United States about vaping with our teenagers and the dangers of vaping. And here in the Metro Detroit area, we had the teenager who had the double lung transplant, who went public with his story. That was pre-pandemic. And I know that the American Lung Association has also been an advocate on the front lines with our lawmakers to try to change some of the laws. Where did things stand in that arena?
I'm not sure I know the current status, but definitely would invite everybody to connect with us and connect with our advocacy director. We know that is something the coalition continues to be focused on, and even through the pandemic, we did not slow down with our focus on vaping, because even though we might be home more or there might be a more pressing issue, we don't want to see another generation be addicted to tobacco, and that's the risk we're faced with. And so first, it's just really to create tools to help families and schools, open up the conversations and have those resources. So we move quite forward with our Vape Free School initiative, bringing programs that our schools can incorporate both at the middle school and high school level. And there's educational programs, but there's also programs that are available if we might have some students that might be looking at a suspension or something, that we have an alternative to that. But one of my favorite pieces too that we have is the Vape Talk for parents. So, just to provide some education, I think I was a teenager once and might have been a little sneaky. So if I were in my mom's shoes, this is, what to look for, and then how to get the conversation started. And then what resources for me as a family might I have to support my younger adult or middle schooler who might be looking at vaping or think it's a cool thing to do, and how to help them.
Because it could be hard for some parents because it doesn't have the smell associated with it like tobacco and marijuana.
Yeah, and I think we see it from a few fronts of, really we've seen some great nationwide movement with looking at, those flavored tobacco products and eradicating those, right? So first making it not as pleasurable, hiding the smell, but even just for parents to educate them, sometimes they look like Sharpies or things. So you might not even notice that it's a traditional vape pen. And so what to look for, as a parent to start, and then how to just, again, to get that conversation started and to provide information, right? So there was a lot of marketing out there that gave the impression that it was a safer alternative to smoking, and just to provide some concrete information. So parents really have that information, as well as our young adults, right? Who maybe are hearing one thing, but where do I go to verify that? So they can visit our website and look through all those vape-free support resources that we have, whether they're a parent or a school system, they have those at their hands.
Maureen Robus with us here on the Megacast, Executive Director for the American Lung Association here in the state of Michigan. One of your big fundraising events every year has been the Fight for Air Climb. I've taken part of it more than my fair share of times when it was at the Runestad, and I can tell you it's not pleasurable. Credit to all of the firefighters. We were always a part of the Dearborn Heights Fire Department team. They were gracious enough to allow us to be a part of it. We only did, a portion of it, but for the firefighters that do it in full gear, is really amazing to me. But it is a big fundraising event. Is that going to be changing this year? We do know that it stopped being at the Runestad a couple years ago, though.
Yeah, with some of the changes there with the hotel and construction, we were in other skyscrapers. So we took that event previously. Last few years, we were at the LI building as well as the One Woodward building. But this year, like all of our events across the nation, we had to reimagine them to take place for the safety of our participants and volunteers and staff. And they were reimagined to take place outside. And so we were super excited earlier this year to announce that we are moving to Comerica Park, which is a one-of-a-kind of experience to be at the park. It allows us to really take the park over for the day so we can spread out that event, again, to make sure the safety of all participants and staff and volunteers are top priority for us, but to also continue our work to raise funds and awareness for the American Lung Association. So like you said, the same kind of feel, the fun, the camaraderie, everybody's kind of had to move quickly up a flight of stairs, probably in a stadium, and might have felt a little winded from time to time if you're moving at a fast clip. So you know that there's still that athletic challenge. And then, of course, the firefighters continue to be a big part. And you're right, they climb in more than up to 60 pounds is what that gear can weigh. So imagine climbing up and down several flights of stairs with that on.
So can people still register, and is it still kind of the team concept that it's been in years past?
Yeah, teams are great, and a team is two people, but if an individual is more than welcome to sign up. We're about 5 weeks out from the event, so spots are filling up quickly. So if somebody is interested, we encourage them to register at climbdetroit.org. But we do have a wait list, so things pop up, schedules change. So even if you've gone to the website and see that we have filled up, we encourage you to still get registered on the waiting list. Every year we have a few people who have a schedule change, and we want to make sure we open those spots up for you. But it's a really cool experience. So participants will be entering in the park and kind of weaving their way up and down throughout the stadium. Our traditional climbers will be tackling the lower bowl, and then our firefighters will be tackling the 200 and 300 levels, so that upper level of Comerica Park. So it'll be a really cool experience for them too.
Plus you get a cool medal.
Cool medal every year. That is the most coveted piece.
It's all about the medal.
And all about the medal. And it's a really neat experience to be at the ballpark and really kind of have that to yourself. So we've obviously been on site a few times in our planning, and it's super fun. And it'll still have that same energy and excitement. And we do hope that individuals will sign up with the team. It's a great thing to do with your family or friends.
Maureen, we so appreciate your time.
Yes, well, thanks for having us.
To find out more information, please visit the American Lung Association's website. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be joined with one of our favorite dog trainers, because guess what, Tyler? It's a little bit of an adjustment as more and more people are starting to head back into the office. Our pets don't know what to do, so we'll be talking about that and so much next.
Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you with us on the Friday edition of the Megacast. I can't think of another better way.
No better way.
To end the week than with our next guest here on the Megacast. The great thing that really kind of came out of this pandemic is we had so many people go to our animal shelters and rescue pets throughout the crisis and the pandemic. But what does that mean for our pets is so many people are starting to go back into work, or even if it's just for a day or two, we have to readapt our pets to our new schedule. And to talk about that and so many other pet issues, let's bring in Elaine Chan. She is the owner for Good Choices Dog Training. Thank you for being with us.
Hi.
Who is your little furry baby there?
It's Momo Pie.
Oh, it's so cute. What kind of dog?
She is a Quaker Hunter. It's a pretty unique breed.
I noticed that the entire time you're feeding him little cookies, little snacks.
That milkshake goes a long way. She's not used to sitting next to me like this.
So, Elaine, tell us a little bit more about your dog training, because so many people right now are struggling with their pets because we've had such a huge shift in our schedules over the past year.
Yeah, well, right now, a lot of people, I think it's just the schedule and the routine are changing, make it a little bit hard. So for me, I have been keeping up doing group training lesson as well as in-home private lesson as far as services that I do with my clients. I was also doing, taking care of the dog, for the day. We do some day training as well. I have a team that helps me with training. So, it depends on what the dogs are currently seeking for. I think people need to start, doing things. If they have got a dog with their, during the pandemic time, they should start doing activities with their pets.
Yeah, so it's all about the activities. But even like you think about, so many of the kids have been home because of remote learning, but now the kids are even going to school. So what do you do with like an overactive pet that's not getting the attention that they once did?
I think one of the things I had to also think about having them go back to being more normal is that taking in consideration, like if they got a puppy that is brand new, if they have not done a lot of things with them, they want to start out slow, and also finding activity that is suitable for the pets. I think one of the ideas is that people will have to also consider how socialized a dog is at this point, and then start on some activity that is a little bit easier for them to deal with. Like for example, like we have socialization events and socialization field trips that we can help this puppy to re-socialize, or adult dog that is re-socialized into more of a real world. And I think that people also always start to look at doing more activity with them now that it's warmer weather. Look at maybe just go on a small hike, better have other people that their friends have puppy that you go on to do a walk together. Even those would be actually good to start out with.
Elaine Chan with us here on the Megacast. She's the owner.
I'm having actually a harder time hearing the question.
Oh, that's okay. With that, Lane, can you tell us so many people, when it comes to socializing their pets, it's not just about introducing them with other four-legged friends, but other humans that maybe haven't been into your house because of COVID. And as we start to introduce more people into our lives, do you have any advice in that arena?
I would say don't just focus on, introducing the dog to just people and just dogs, because a lot of times I think they're missing a lot of the bigger picture. And socialization also is meant by, getting the dog making good exposure and being comfortable in the environment and a lot of the things that they have to live with as well. So I think depending on the dog's history, like if the dog really is missing interaction with dogs, now they're getting a little bit older, there are different venues that they can start out doing that. I think attending a puppy training or a group training class would be helpful because you have a trainer there guiding you. Or I do have some social event, a field trips that is, we started actually last week, would be a good introduction for them. And a lot of people think that it would be nice to just take the dog to the dog park or to doggy daycare or something like that. But what they are not realizing is that these dogs have not been well socialized to begin with. So by just throwing them into the environment, for example, a dog park or a doggy daycare, just to meet people or meet other dogs, could be really overwhelming and actually setting the dog to fail and not really doing the intention of good, trying to socialize them because it's not the correct way to come about it. So people have to be really careful of, knowing their dog's personality, knowing the breed. If you have a dog who's already anxious, stressed, or a little bit timid to begin with, actually having just to have another dog, a friend that somebody has a dog, or even calling a trainer and let us help them to do the introduction. Just go on a small, nice walk someplace outside would probably be better, more monitored this way, more supervised this way than throwing them into a park or anything kind of off-leash introduction, because those do need some time to build up their skills before they're able to handle that. And socialization also is about all sorts of sounds, sensations, smell, movement, environment, different things they have to expose to as well. Like last week we had a field trip in downtown Farmington, so the dog actually learned to see hear the sound like the motorcycle, see kids playing in the pavilion, seeing the people, riding scooter, rollerblade, different sort of things, and we want to make sure that they get the visual and the physical exposure to stuff, but it's not just limited to playing with dogs and people.
So with that, Elaine, when you do have a pet, and I'm just going to ask because, we have Trixie, and Trixie is a rescue dog, and she is a bit challenged in some areas, but she's great in other areas. And one of the things, for people like for us, you can't really put her in a dog park right now or doggy daycare because she's waiting to get spayed, and there's such a backlog for some of these services. And what we have found, though, is because of COVID-19 and not being able to bring your pets one-on-one into the vet, then she has developed anxiety. So we didn't want to, take her in to get her fixed until we could be there with her. For people, are you seeing some of your patients, or not patients, your clients, having some of these same experiences because their pets have not been in these social situations? So what is the time frame to be able to try to get them in these situations which aren't regular for them to be able to adapt and change their personalities?
I think just through training and preparing them will be nice. Like, for example, like in the classes, we do work on a lot of handling with other people, touching the pets and getting them ready to be examined by vets. Like, we do get them used to the idea that when they go in, like you were saying about dropping the dog at the vet and they're feeling, uncomfortable. So preparing to do the things that the vet might be actually going to perform for them in the house, just for the owner to work on it through handling exercises, through getting them used to the devices they may have to be using. Like, for example, just working on restraint, holding them differently, or having other people in the family to start out will be helpful. As far as the time frame goes, I think it depends on the puppy's age. When they get them during the pandemic, it's better that they start something than not start at all. I mean, I have a lot of people actually now, the dogs are older, and I am seeing a huge increased search of the older dog really missing out the early on, socialization period, and we are having some, hard time introducing them back into the normal world. But little bit by little bit, we want to guide them to, through these training activities. They will be better off to have something than nothing, I would say. So no matter what, they should be looking into, different training classes, different trainers to help them in the area. But preparing them for a vet visit, even if you're able to have a different person just taking them, doing some handling things and whatnot, that would be still helpful for the puppy or for the older dog.
Elaine Chan with us here on the Megacast. She's the owner for the Good Choices Dog Training. The good thing, summer is coming. Do you see dogs tend to respond better if they're able to get outside and enjoy the nice weather and go for more longer walks because it exposes them to new and more, sounds and, smells?
The dog definitely can feel the spring weather, the warmer weather. They definitely get more excited, and that's why it's important to utilize the timing now that we can be outside with them to do more activities outside. But also, even with outside, there are things to watch out for, as far as safety. But if the dog have not been outside, I would say, right now it definitely is a good time to do it. But for example, even where to do the activity, try to also start out slow, maybe only do 1 or 2 activity or event per week and not overdo. But the dog definitely gets more excited when they feel the weather is warmer. They want to go on more hikes, they want to go on more walks. And I also think that a lot of dogs may be picking up some weight during the winter as well as the pandemic. So,
just like us, right?
Concern, and including my own dog. So I think in general, just getting out there more, often getting fresh air and exercising with the dog more. And anybody can at least walk them a couple times a day. That will be good. And also find out different area, different site that they can go to, because the dog do get bored and don't like to use their nose to investigate and to learn to explore. So going to the same park, same environment, or the same route that you always go over and over again may not be exciting for the dog. So it's also nice to take the dog and go to different places to explore. I think just by going to new places for them to sniff and explore is already really nice for them to have as far as activity.
So with that, tell us about the adventure groups.
We have an adventure class that we started last week. So we have field trips on Fridays or Saturdays, and then we have classes that we meet on Monday and Saturdays, which would be nice because we are rotating different areas. So I have a group that we set up that we go to different parks. So we're not always in the same area. Almost every week we have different events, different activities, and sometimes we will have some off-leash social time. Sometimes we will set up some obstacle course for the dog to play, so they get to be monitored and guided by the trainer to know what to do. Like last week we were in downtown Farmington. Today we actually have a field trip at Wall Lake, in the Wall Lake area. We go to West Bloomfield Parks on the trails, and we also go to different stores. We go to Premier Pet Supply sometimes, where we have a different area that we do different things with. So the puppies are always out and about, not just teaching them to have a better social skills because the social introductions are being guided by trainer, but also we're working on strengthening and practicing the basic manner that they already have. And for those that doesn't have the basic manner to start with, we have the classes that we have as part of the group on Monday and Saturday, where they will learn the actual training to go along with it, so they have an option to do both. Also, I made it flexible for my client where they can just drop in as well if they want to do it like a full duration to buy a pass. They can come to as many classes as they want, or they can just drop in, as they like, so they can do less or more, which would be nice for people to have flexibility, because I think so many people are waiting to do things now at the spring and summer. So some people may not be able to commit to, training a lot, but I encourage them to commit to as much as they can. But having the flexibility for being able to drop in, I think would be nice as far as me providing a service to them, so that when they can do other things too, that they wanted to do other things, enjoy the season, they're able to do that, and they're able to enjoy doing activities with their dog as well.
Exactly, because they're like a member of our family, and we want them to live their best life and their biggest life. So with that, Elaine, how can people find out more information about you, but also some of these events coming up as well?
Most of the events are posted on my Facebook, but I also have flyers that I would post at the local pet store, like Premier Pet Supplies in West Bloomfield. I do have flyers out there, so you can see them. You can also directly call, but most of the stuff are posted on Facebook at this point.
Elaine Chan with us here on the Megacast. She is the owner for Good Choices Dog Training. Thank you so much for your time. And give your four-legged...
West Bloomfield program, the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation program are starting in May. So we do have several classes that are starting with the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation. We also have the Summer Tales and Trails Summer Camp coming up in the first weekend of May as well.
I love that. And for all of us that live in the area, you got the West Bloomfield Parks booklet in the mail. That's how we even found out about it. So, Elaine, thank you again for your time.
You're very welcome.
That's going to pretty much wrap it up for the Friday edition and for this week here on the Megacast. Again, we want to remind you, you can always check out previous interviews. Just go to civiccentertv.com. It's been a great week, a very long week.
Yes.
But thank you to Jake as well as Larry behind the scenes for helping us get this show on the air. This has been the Megacast.